And if you skip over the beginning steps, what you'll notice is you're not going to be able to incorporate this into a lifestyle. That's another thing. You have to go in with the goal of incorporating this into a lifestyle. And so that way you don't start doing it and then start doing it and then stop. Ladies, be very, very careful with this, because that's going to chip away at your self-esteem. Okay. One of the biggest ways in which we build self-esteem and trust in ourselves, that's what self-esteem is, trusting ourselves, is by actually sticking to the things that we say that we're going to do. Okay, if we say we're going to do something, especially make a promise to ourselves or make a goal for ourselves, then it's in our best interest to actually execute and do that thing successfully. And when you start and stop, you're chipping away at your self-esteem and you're making your condition worse. Okay, and also most married women get married too early because of pressure and conditioning from society and the patriarchy. Okay, and so therefore this is work that typically would be taking place in teenage years as well as in your 20s. But women get this pressure from patriarchy and their society to get married really, really early because they get told lies. They get fed lies like, oh, when you're past your 30, you can't have kids anymore. You're past your prime, blah, blah, blah. When the truth of the reality is males don't care. They will stick it into anything. They will stick around for anything as long as it's beneficial to them. I think it's a lot better and more efficient to find yourself first before getting into any relationship, because when you find yourself, okay, when you know your purpose, when you have a good idea of how to go about finding your purpose at any given time, and you know yourself and you trust yourself, the version of the person that you're going to be with changes dramatically. It changes dramatically from the version of the person that you would marry or be with otherwise. Okay, and therefore your happiness scale also changes dramatically based off of that. Okay.
Swagger down the street with your red lips and funky beat. You better hold your head up to the sky. I'm gonna roll with you till the day I die.
Hola, mis amores, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo están haciendo? Hi, my loves. How are you? How are you doing? So, I'm back with another video, y'all. And this one took a little while to make for some reason. I know why. It's because I am not on the same time, so I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. And so when I'm thinking about the topics on the videos that I need to do next, I sometimes forget about this one, okay? And a lot of times, of course, I get my topics from different places, like comments that are left on my channel, comments left on other people's channel, videos, things like that. So, it's just a lot of processing of information that's always happening. And because this isn't ingrained or a part of my current lifestyle, sometimes I totally forget. So I'm really, really glad and happy to be making this video right now, okay? And addressing this topic. So, married ladies, hi, how are ya? Welcome, okay? Okay, so I have gotten a few comments on my channel as to ladies that are curious as to how to find their purpose, even though they're married. So how married women can find their purpose. What's the irony? What's ironic? What's ironic? I'm starting to see and realize that married women get forgotten a lot. It even seems to me like married women get put on the back burner or forgotten even more than single women do, even more than single moms do. It's like married women, once you get married, it's almost like you don't exist. It's weird. It's harder to it seems like it's harder to get any additional support. Perhaps it's because of the perception of you're married, so figure it out, or you should have the male figure it out. Otherwise, I don't know what it is, but that's what I've been seeing a lot from the feedback that I've been getting from women, especially married women, and from what I've been all the information and research I do when I make my videos and prior to making my videos, I don't ever really see or hear about married women, y'all. Like, so much so that I've been meaning to make this video for a while, and I'm just now getting around to it. So leave it in the comments below if you have noticed that strange phenomenon, or what your thoughts are when it comes to that, because very, very interesting. Never quite crossed my mind before. All right, so let's talk about married women. Go ahead and smash that like button for me. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button for me. All right, thank you so much. I'm so much. Married women, let's talk about how to find your purpose within this marriage that you've gotten yourself stuck in. Okay. I say stuck in because, of course, marriage is not really beneficial for women. Okay, marriage is primarily to the benefit of the male. All right, it is for the male. It is for the male species in almost its entirety. All right. When it comes to marriage, the woman seldom benefits of marriage at all. All right. So unless you find a one percenter, which I made a video on what the one percenter looks like, how they act like, how they think. I dropped that video earlier this week, and it's called the one percenter man. Like, taking a look into the one percenter man. So if you haven't watched that, make sure to take a look at that right after this video. But unless you got with a one percenter, which you did not, I can promise you did not get with a one percenter, because they are even even more rare than a needle in a haystack. And also, if you were with a one percenter, you wouldn't be having to ask yourself the question of, how do I find my purpose? You know what I mean? Because that is a relationship that would have been allowing you to grow and thrive in a way where you wouldn't feel as lost as you do now. Okay. So, ladies, keep that in mind when it comes to marriage. It's not beneficial for women. Marriage is not meant for women. Marriage is an institution that was put in place societally to actually keep men under control, because males without marriage, they literally go out of control. They're not as constrained. Okay, when marriage is in place, they're a lot more constrained, and so they are a lot more likely to direct that XY energy into something more productive, because they're having to worry about kids, house, bills, all this other stuff. So it's really to keep them under control, because males they don't have the massive males, the majority of males, they can't govern themselves. They don't have self-control. They don't have empathy. They don't have like in-depth knowledge of empathy and how to empathize with others. Their main priority is always self-preservation. Okay, so it's really the marriage institution was primarily put in place for that purpose, and also it's financial. It's primarily, historically, it was used to secure finance and resources. Okay, so it had nothing to do with love. That just happened most recently, where more and more people were looking to get married for love and not just resources. So either way it goes, it's a legalities issue. It's a contract. It's a legal contract. Okay, nothing more, nothing less. That's what it ends up being, is a legal contract. And it's never really made any sense to me, because there are way better contracts that you can sign with a person that you care about that don't have anything to do with marriage. And by by being in a marriage, you further trap yourself as a woman. Now it depends. If you're a woman that's not wealthy, that doesn't have a lot of money, and you meet a wealthy male, then perhaps it could be helpful. Just make sure that he's not a psycho, right? But that's really the only circumstance or exception where the woman can benefit a little bit more from that marriage situation, or from being married, because a lot of times also the woman is the one that carries everything else. The woman carries the emotional baggage. The woman carries the children. If they have kids, the woman carries the household chores and cleaning. The woman, she's doing everything. She does everything. That's why married women live a lot less longer than single women. And that's why statistically, single women are much, much happier than married women. That's just the way that it is. So if you've gotten yourself stuck in this situation, I feel for you. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about how to find your purpose despite being in a marriage. All right. The first thing that you'll want to do as a married woman is you want to take a step back, because married women, you have it a lot harder. So your role is a lot tougher. Okay, because the first step into finding your purpose that you cannot avoid, okay, is you have to make sure that you're not being ruled and controlled by any relationships. And by relationships, I mean relationships with males. And if you're married, there's a good chance that you have kids too, and that's also included in this package. You can't be controlled by any relationships. You can't be controlled by any relationships with males or any relationships with children. Okay. This is probably going to be the step where you spend the most time, because most married women cannot get past this step, and it's only the first step, which is why a lot of them either end up with no purpose, or they end up trying to make their family and their children their purpose. But that's not a true purpose. You know, these are human beings, and it's actually even more unfair for you to make your children your purpose. It's clingy, creepy, and unfair. Too much pressure to put on the child. Okay, the child is a human being. They have a life of their own. They shouldn't have the expectation placed on them to fulfill your purpose. That's insanity. Okay, and selfish. So unfortunately, though, this is what a lot of married women end up doing, because they have such a hard time with this first step, which is not being controlled by any relationships. Okay. Um, and what I mean, and you know, some examples of not being controlled by any relationship, right? That means you have your independence, you have your freedom, you are able to think of yourself first, right? When it comes to most, if not all things, you're able to put yourself first. So those are just, you know, some examples. Another really, really important example is you're not chasing after a male, you're not chasing after no children. Okay, and this is especially if you have older children. You know, older children are kind of just going to do what they want to do. And so for you to be like, you know, helicopter mom, or harassing them, trying to make them into what you want them to be, as opposed to just letting them develop, you know, that's not a good, look. You're too focused on that to even start the process of finding your own personal purpose. You know what I mean? Or you have a male, or you're married to a husband, and you're always on him about cleaning, or about, you do this, you don't do that, da, 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 da. You're always chasing after him. He cheats on you, you take him back. You know, if you're exhibiting all of these behaviors, these are just some examples. There's so many examples. These are just some. But if you're exhibiting all of these behaviors, that means that you are most likely currently being controlled and ruled by the relationships in your life. And while you do that, there's no way in hell, there's no way on God's green earth that you will ever be able to find your purpose. Okay, it doesn't work that way. All right. If you're able to make it past step one, then you go into trying to learn what your boundaries are, and setting your boundaries. Okay. I'm going to make a boundary setting video, because I do have to kind of break that down a little bit more. Because this is also another step that a lot of women get stuck in. They don't really know how to set appropriate boundaries. And even the ones that think that they know, don't know. Okay. But you have to learn what your boundaries are, and you have to actually set your boundaries. Okay. And that actually also serves as a shield to protect all the work that you've put into number one. Okay. With appropriate boundaries, now you don't have to go back and forth between each stage, trying to and having to redo each stage, because you've set up the boundaries necessary to protect the work that you've put in the first time. Right. So you have to learn what those boundaries are, and then you have to move forward with setting them. And if you're able to make it past that, the second stage, you move on to the third, which is creating a clear, peaceful, stress-free environment. Okay. Your environment has to be clear. Your environment has to be peaceful. Your environment has to be stress-free. There is no way around that. Okay. If your environment is dirty, clutter everywhere, kids stuff everywhere, kids running around everywhere, male isn't helping with the cleaning, male is sitting there playing video games. Look, that is not an environment that you can be productive in. All right. The environment has to be conducive to the goal that we're trying to accomplish. Okay. That should go without saying. So you have to create a clear, peaceful, and stress-free environment. Stress is a very tricky thing. It's very, very tricky, because a lot of times, even myself, even I feel like, oh, I'm not stressed out. And the reality is my body is feeling stressed out. It doesn't take much for the body to start feeling stress or stressed out. So this is also a level that you'll probably be spending quite a bit of time on, because you have to learn about your body. You have to learn the signals. You have to learn what it feels like, what it looks like when you are actually under high stress. But I can tell you right now, one of the easiest ways to start with this is, if your environment is cluttered, if you're married and you are someone that feels like your husband doesn't help you with anything within the house, or with a lot of things within the house that you would like for him to help you with, then, you know, that's not a stress-free environment. It's night and day from the way an unmarried woman lives. Oh my gosh. Like, think about how an unmarried woman lives, right? Like, her own house, her own space. She puts everything wherever she wants it to be. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be on that same time. All right. So yeah, so if you're able to make it through that, okay, then you move on to the next step, the fourth step, which is you have to start making a list of your favorite hobbies now and in the past. What are the things that you enjoy doing, right? And then from there, you can take a few weeks to make that list. And from there, what you'll want to do is write down a timeline for doing and trying each one of these hobbies, because I guarantee you that married women are not doing hobbies. They're just not doing things that they enjoy doing. They don't even remember what they used to enjoy doing. And so you have to go back to basics with this one. Okay. And that's a good place to get started. All right. And then once you do that, you want to write down a timeline. What I mean by timeline is don't go give me, oh, I'll do this one in January and then the next one in December. No, ma'am. All right. Timeline, I mean like, okay, you have to incorporate it into your schedule, into your daily and weekly schedule. That's what I mean. Okay. So if it's an activity, you have to put it into your schedule it out. Like, okay, today's Monday. I'm going to book the appointment and make sure that I do XYZ activity for Saturday at 9. Okay. It has to be booked, locked, and centered. All right. So you have to start incorporating all of these things into your actual schedule. Now you're starting to see more and more why you can't skip over steps 1 through 4. Okay, especially if you're married. Now you're starting to see why more and more married women are unhappier than single women, right? Just because it's very, very difficult to get the time or even the mindset or the mind space to do all these things when you have kids that you have to worry about, when you have the husband that might be harassing you, not helping you, or you're cleaning after him all the time. You're in that role of his mom and then the mom of your kids on top of everything. And then on top of everything, you're the one that's done the work to give birth to all these children, literally effectively shortening your lifespan by years. It literally shortens a woman's lifespan by years when they go through that pregnancy process. And so now you're starting to see, okay, this is why you can't skip over any of the beginning steps, right? Because how are you going to do that? How's that going to work? And if you skip over the beginning steps, what you'll notice is you're not going to be able to incorporate this into a lifestyle. That's another thing. You have to go in with the goal of incorporating this into a lifestyle. And so that way you don't start doing it and then start doing it and then stop. Ladies, be very, very careful with this, because that's going to chip away at your self-esteem. Okay. One of the biggest ways in which we build self-esteem and trust in ourselves, that's what self-esteem is, trusting ourselves, is by actually sticking to the things that we say that we're going to do. Okay. If we say we're going to do something, especially make a promise to ourselves or make a goal for ourselves, then it's in our best interest to actually execute and do that thing successfully. And when you start and stop, you're chipping away at your self-esteem and you're making your condition worse. Okay. So I know that's a mouthful. I might have to separate this into 2 videos because it's actually a little bit lengthier than I thought. You start kind of seeing how all these puzzle parts connect, right? The next thing that you're going to want to do is, after doing each of these activities, you're going to have to reflect on how much you enjoyed and liked doing each one of these activities and why and the reasons behind it. And you're going to want to go in depth with this process. Okay, with this mental process, you got to go in depth below the superficial, right? I like golfing. Why? Well, it's freeing. It feels liberating. It's a decompressor to my stress. I get to meet new people, make an impact in other people's lives. You got to go deep, deep, deep. All right. So that you can see, okay, what are the true reasons behind me doing the things that I like. From there, you're trying to find the top three similarities that are shared in each from the 6th step. Okay. So from doing the 6th step of why do I like doing each activity, from there, you're trying to see, okay, which activities share the most similarities. Okay. Which activities share the most similarities? Okay. From there, what you'll start to notice is you'll start seeing the pattern of what makes you happy. All right. Okay. You'll start seeing the pattern of what actually makes you happy, what brings you the most joy. All right. And that will effectively and efficiently help you move on to the next step. All right. And the next step is essentially you start doing those particular activities that have the same and share the most commonalities. You start infusing those even more into your schedule and into your lifestyle. All right. And from there, that's where you start getting a good overview of what your purpose is. Okay. So it's as simple as that. Okay. I didn't say easy, but it's as simple as that. But this takes a lot of work for married women, especially because of the time restraint and the restraint on your resources, literally on your emotional resource, on your psychological resource, on your environmental resources, which I believe is one of the top reasons why most married women end up not really being able to find their purpose. And also, most married women get married too early because of pressure and conditioning from society and the patriarchy. Okay. And so therefore, this is work that typically would be taking place in teenage years as well as in your 20s. But women get this pressure from patriarchy and their society to get married really, really early because they get told lies. They get fed lies like, oh, when you're past your 30, you can't have kids anymore. You're past your prime, blah, blah, blah. When the truth of the reality is, males don't care. They will stick it into anything. They will stick around for anything as long as it's beneficial to them. It's all lies, but unfortunately, it's part of the social conditioning. And so this makes it to where a lot of women get married way too soon without actually finding themselves first. Okay. I think it's a lot better and more efficient to find yourself first before getting into any relationship because when you find yourself, okay, when you know your purpose, when you have a good idea of how to go about finding your purpose at any given time, and you know yourself and you trust yourself, the version of the person that you're going to be with changes dramatically. It changes dramatically from the version of the person that you would marry or be with otherwise. Okay. And therefore, your happiness scale also changes dramatically based off of that. Okay. So, anyways, those are my thoughts for this particular video. We'll definitely continue to dive more in depth on it. Leave it in the comments below as to any questions and thoughts that you might have. And as usual, oh my God, go ahead and smash that like button for me. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button for me. All right. Thank you so much. I love you so much. And I will talk to y'all and see y'all in the next video. Bye.